I'm ready, let's go! Hello sailors! This week we are showing you the installation of our solar arch. And this is it. The arch that is arguably the sturdiest option possible at the time, in that place, for the budget, given the constraints of the boat. And I also tell you why, and nerd out a bit. So stick around if you're interested in more than just a sailing vlog. Yeah, Mandy's also in it, don't worry. So for the past month or so, we dragged around a 1x2 meter solar panel in the middle of our saloon, which made the living area of Blue absolutely useless. But we were working on the yard and it only bothered one of us. So after we splashed and everything worked out fine, we thought now we have to tackle the project. So here we are. These are the solar panels we used up until now, and it served us well for a year. One 90-watt panel mounted on the davit and 3 flexible 100-watt random brand on the bimini. With old-style PWM charge controllers, we managed about 10 to 14 amps. It wasn't too bad. But we concluded if we really want to keep going west, then we don't want to bother about energy at all anymore. So over the next few episodes, you will find out about all the equipment choices that we make that in the end make Blue 100% energy independent. And Dave, you really need to subscribe if you keep watching the videos. I know you're not, I look at graph. So now follow me into the marina. Let's go. Today we're preparing the installation of the arch, and we're taking off the solar panels on the bimini, and we're also taking off the wind generator with the strut, and we're putting the cables back inside, sealing the deck through hull. Still don't know what the correct name for that is. If we were on the hard now, we couldn't do our fouling. Need to wait for it to dry again, and day after day goes by because every day it's raining a bit. So in preparation of attaching the solar panel on top, I'm also thinking about how to attach the charge controllers. Right now, the charge controllers that we used for the flexible and the 90-watt panel were just drilled into the cabin walls, and that was fine because it worked. But now I kind of want to have a nicer system. So I found myself some plywood, and I'm going to use this as a panel where I just neatly screw everything in and wire it up, and then I only have to put this panel onto the walls. It's not perfect, but for now this will do. I don't have the circuit breakers yet, so I don't quite know about the layout. I have to think about that. We commissioned the construction of the arch to a welding company in Jerez, and a few days back the guys came to measure everything. We talked about the design and we trusted them to find ways to place the struts in between all these existing obstructions. Of course we could move the bimini, and of course we could get rid of the davit if necessary, but rather not, right? So one beam would sit next to the push pit and one beam would sit on the stern, right there. Boats are round and panels are flat, so next to finding space in between the obstructions, another challenge here was to get the angles right. The deck tilts outward and the stern backwards.
We are pretty excited today because today they are coming with our arch, and we don't really know what exactly they're doing, if it's just pieces and they're going to try and then weld it together, or if the whole piece comes at once, and if they actually install it. So it's a day of surprises. And this time excited. It's a very nice morning. It's been a bit wet all night and rainy, but today's gonna be a good day. Woo!
That's our arch.
That does seem like our arch.
Insane, huh?
Come with a massive truck, guys.
Step 1. Get the bimini covers off just in time. Step 2. Place the arch on the boat and feel relieved because nothing blocks the way. It's literally perfect. Step 2.5. Add the vane of the hydro vane and check every possible angle and deflection. Feel relieved because nothing blocks the way. Step 3. Drill holes in the boat and refit. Feel relieved because it still fits. Step 4. Take it off again and adjust the length of the bolts.
It's going really fast, huh?
Yeah, exciting stuff. I think like normal customers are not on the boat when they do that.
Maybe, yeah.
Because they're just like commission stuff and then 2 months later they come back and it's done. Are you nervous in a bit?
A little bit, yeah.
Why?
Because it's going so fast. And then things we would really think about everything, like go slow and measure 5 times. And they're like, okay, here, bam, done. You're like, what? I looked away once and it's there. So the guy's really cool though. He just showed us some pictures. They made an entire like structure with the exact angles of our boats, the support structure in their workshop, so they could measure the angles of the whole arch. It's very awesome. It's too bad we couldn't go. We wanted to go over there to have a look when they made it, but it's about 25 kilometers from here in Jerez, and we didn't have any car, and it's extremely expensive to rent one somehow, and the public transportation is really bad. So, but he showed it all on pictures. He's gonna send us so we can put them like in here. It's really cool.
Step 5. Put it back on and bolt it down. I'll show you some details later. Step 6. Get the solar panel out of the saloon and prepare mounting it. Step 7. Mount the solar panel on the arch. And get the cable through the tube.
Can do it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Getting cable through the tubes and deck fittings meant de- and reattaching the MC4 connectors that connect to the solar panel. But no worries, they are absolutely foolproof.
Is it bent?
Yeah.
Shoot. So you see, any task can get complicated.
Hey Mandy, just film me clicking those 2 plug-and-play clickies. Yes, not a problem. Spent the whole day rewiring the solar panel and charge controllers. And I prepared everything for like a 1-minute video montage because I want to show off my amazing electrician skills. But that backfired. It's so annoying. Next try?
Another attempt.
Click.
Oh, I heard it!
yeah, that's the beauty of these. They work all the time. Wanna turn on the charge controller?
Yes.
Come, join me, guys. So I'm very proud. If you couldn't tell from the last energy management video, this is my favorite spot. And this is our new setup. So I ripped out the old ones and we replaced them with the Victron with decent wiring and breakers or switches, circuit breakers on both sides. So I can turn off the panel if I want to. And this is a breaker on the battery side. So we do have two flicky switches on both sides of the charge controller, and I'm going to turn on the battery side first so the charge controller boots up, and then we'll probably find it on the Victron app.
Yeah.
And we can get some reading on that. And after that I'm going to flick the switch on the solar panel, and there is a 0.1% chance that I mixed up the polarity. Most current Victron products have Bluetooth built in to connect with the app and with each other. They share information like voltage, current and temperature, so basically you're creating a big Victron brain that manages all things electric. There you go. After connecting the charge controller with the phone, the app updated the firmware, and after that we got a reading. Ready.
Oh. Bulk.
There we go, we get some power.
We're getting power.
So the sun is low, and that's on purpose because we wanted to have low load when turning it on for the first time. And it seems like polarity is fine. We get a charge and we see tomorrow how much we get during one day.
But this is enough, right?
Usually when building an arch, you're looking for diagonal reinforcement to stop wiggle and create one solid piece. Mandy had a hunch that we might need some reinforcements, and once everything was in place, we determined the best places to put them. You can either do everything up front, design the whole thing completely, or you can do these things afterwards. Honestly, we were a bit confused because the design wasn't sturdy when it arrived. But in hindsight, we're actually quite happy it went down like this. Because placing the supports when the arch was in place was definitely easier and less risky obstruction-wise. It also gave us time to think of the best way possible. You can do this hands-on by just taking lines and pulling from side to side to find the best spots, or you can nerd out. Finally. Here's the challenge. Stop lateral movement in a rectangular shape. If you paid attention in geometry class, you may remember that it makes sense to split into triangles. Obviously, this is the most sturdy way to reinforce, from corner to corner. Obviously, this is not feasible. The next best option would be to split into triangles like this. Every part of the arch is part of a triangle, and therefore reinforced. And we could kind of walk through the middle. But let's have a realistic look at the available attachment points. The corner 0 and 9 are critical. We need to stop movement there, because that is the attachment to the boat. Taking into account that we only have these attachment points available to us, and we need to be able to walk through the arch, the next best option is to create overlapping triangles, which would mean 0 to 5 and 9 to 4. By overlapping, all areas are still reinforced. But that is not really feasible because I cannot attach a strut to 0 or 9 because this is the base of the arch. And crossing struts on top looks kinda silly. So now that I told you all of what is ideal but not possible, this is the compromise that makes most sense to us. 1 to 3 and 8 to 6. This way, we stopped lateral wiggle for the big upper piece of the construction. It is the better choice than the alternative 2 to 4 and 5 to 7. The alternative would leave most of the vertical pieces of the arch, 0 to 2 and 9 to 7, exposed to wiggle. So by going the way we did, We only need to solve the weak rectangular between 0, 1, 8 and 9. And our solution is to put small struts on 1 and 8 that attach to the push pit. And this way we have a fully reinforced rectangular arch. If you want to be picky, then 3 to 6 are not reinforced. But we're not building a bridge. The challenge was not to be able to put most weight on a singular point in the middle, but to stop the natural oscillating frequency of the construction. So now the joke is on you. We are very happy with the end result, but of course there are a few things that we learned for our next solar arch, and that is...
So when we were talking about the design of this arch, it was in Spain, right? So I had to do most of the talking and I would translate between Alex and the guy that was making it. And the problem was that for me, I was really insecure about the tubes only being 30 millimeters thick. I mean, for example, this part here, that is 30 millimeters, right? But that felt a little bit thin for me if the whole construction is going to be this big and there's going to be a panel on it and maybe a radar and everything. But we talked to a couple of people that are into engineering and they know their stuff, and they said no, 30 millimeters is actually really fine. It's more dependent on the construction than it is on the thickness of the tube. I decided to believe that, also because Alex really wanted to have 30 mil. It was going to save us some money, and also of course the weight is going to be a lot more when it's 40 millimeters. And in the end it turns out that they were all right. The construction is way more important than the thickness of the tube. I'm not saying that you should undersize the thickness of your tubes. It's just that a good design with thinner tubes is probably going to work better than a bad design with really thick tubes. You saw in the video that we got these two diagonal supports put on later, and they were actually in the right spot and it works really well. It's just that we forgot to check one thing, and it took us 2 days to figure that out. And that is, the first time we put everything on, we checked if the height was okay and the hydro vane could move. And that was all fine. But then when we got the diagonal supports on, we forgot to check if the hydro vane is still fine. So you can imagine that when the support is right here, where it was in the first place, and goes up like that, that actually costs us like, I don't know, 20% of the deviation of the hydro vane, which was not really nice. Apart from the fact that it will be less good for steerage, it's also going to be really annoying if every time it hits and you hear the bang in the entire boat. And when we concluded that, we were of course not very happy. Also because we had planned to leave 1 or 2 days later for our crossing towards the Canary Islands. That meant calling the guys again and asking if they could come the next day to take off the support, make it all pretty again, and re-weld the support about 20 centimeters backwards. So here you can see it's now as close to the bimini as possible, as far away from the hydro vane as possible, so that can now deflect all the way. And on the other side it's way more forward, which also had a reason, and that is because we have our outboard here. And if we put this one further backwards, which we did consider, we would not be able to put the outboard back on. We were very happy that when we called the guys from Only Steel and asked them to come back again for the second time to weld and to fix some stuff, they were there the next day, fixed it, and we were ready to go. So thanks so much to Only Steel for that. You guys did an amazing job.
Also, make sure to talk about the mounts. We expected kind of that everybody knows kind of that you put the cables inside the tubes and you mount the solar arch with a big backing plate on deck. That was not the case, and we got mounts with a single bolt, which we didn't really like in the beginning. That meant we couldn't put the cable through from the bottom, and we needed to drill a hole in the side of the tube and get the cable through a deck fitting. It's fine, we can live with it, and especially when I explained the issue, we got additional backing plates and spacers to enforce the connection. And if you're commissioning a solar arch, make sure about how it fits to the deck.
The arch was installed already a couple of months ago, so we have had enough time to test it, and even during our 4-day sail from Spain down to the Canary Islands, it held up fantastically, so we are extremely pleased with the design and the result.
We also started to build more stuff on top of it, another small panel and the radar, so we're going to do an update on that pretty soon, because we're gonna make more boat work videos.
Yes. So thanks so much for watching. Hope you liked it, you learned something, and see you next week. Don't forget to subscribe.
Stay cool. Bye.
Bye.